Hi everyone, welcome to ServiceDesk Plus Masterclass 2025, Episode 7. Before we dive into the session, I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Alvin Samuel, a product expert in ServiceDesk Plus, and I've been with ManageEngine for almost 2 years. I'm glad to be your host for this episode of the Masterclass. In today's session, we'll explore how ServiceDesk Plus can serve as a powerful tool to help you build a robust IT management practice. One that enables greater visibility, improves compliance, optimizes cost, and supports smarter decision making. I'm confident you'll gain valuable insight that you can take back and apply in your IT environment. Before we begin the session, it's important to understand the different editions of Service Desk Plus. As organizations may be using different versions or considering an upgrade, Service Desk Plus is offered in three editions: Standard, Professional, and Enterprise, each designed to meet specific IT service management needs. Standard Edition, a core IT helpdesk software with a strong focus on incident management, features customizable ticket templates, a request lifecycle, and a self-service portal for the end users. Designed as a complete end-to-end ticketing solution for the organizations that primarily require help desk functionality. Professional Edition includes all features of the Standard Edition, adds comprehensive asset management capabilities, making it ideal for organizations that also need to manage IT inventories and assets. Enterprise Edition includes all features of the Professional Edition, adds advanced IT service management capabilities, including problem management, project management, change management, and configuration management database. Designed for enterprises looking for a full ITSM suite with both operational and strategic service management capabilities. For today's session, I'll be using the Enterprise Edition to showcase the full range of IT capabilities within Service Desk Plus. This will give you a comprehensive view of the platform's potential, regardless of which edition your organization is currently using. Before we dive in, let me quickly walk you through what we'll be covering in this session. We'll start by looking at how to configure asset attributes, things like asset types and vendor details that are available in your organization, so they can be imported into the application. Once we have that in place, we'll move on to asset discovery methods. Here, you'll see the different ways you can identify assets in your environment and track them effectively. Next, we'll explore the service asset inventory. This will cover how you can maintain a complete inventory for both IT and non-IT assets, making it easier to manage everything in one place. From there, we'll talk about visualizing asset metrics. We'll use the reports module, either with pre-built reports or custom reports, to pull out the exact insights you need, especially for auditing purposes. Finally, we'll wrap up by looking at the configuration management database. You'll see how you can map dependencies between assets and understand how those relationships impact your business operation through clear business views. Let's start with a real world inspired story. Meet Zylker Life Sciences, a fictional organization but with challenges that mirror many IT organizations. Zylker was a leading pharmaceutical company having a great quarter and even looking forward to a promising IPO. The company was in the middle of a thriving Q4 with late stage clinical trials for highly promisable drugs showing exceptional results. Everything seemed perfect. The states were strong, the mood was upbeat, until one Monday morning, everything changed. Employees logged in to find a chilling message on their screens. Your systems have been encrypted. Zylker has been hit by a ransomware attack. As the investigation went on, it became clear that one of the biggest reasons they were so vulnerable was poor IT asset management. They didn't have a clear, accurate picture of their assets, which made it harder to secure them, and that gap left the door wide open for the attack. Now, let's look at the missteps that led Zylker into this crisis. It all began with poor inventory practices. A contractor was offboarded, but the company failed to collect the asset that had been assigned to them. That forgotten workstation, combined with already weak IT asset management, created a massive security gap. 3 months later, a threat actor found and accessed that unaccounted for device. From there, they quietly infiltrated Zylker's network. Once inside, they targeted software systems, even installing unlicensed software to further exploit vulnerabilities. The result, a full blown ransomware attack. When the incident response team finally mobilized, they struggled to react quickly. Outdated IT asset and configuration data meant they couldn't clearly see the scope of the breach or understand the full impact. By the time the dust settled, the damage was severe, both operationally and financially, a crippling blow for Zylker Life Sciences. What happened to Zylker is a stark reminder of what's at stake for any organization when IT asset management is neglected. First, there's the financial hit. An inaccurate IT asset inventory that allowed a cyber attack to occur ended up costing Zilker millions of dollars in regulatory fines. Then, there's non-compliance. Cybersecurity frameworks like CIS controls, along with the cyber insurance requirements, demand accurate and up-to-date IT asset tracking. Because of the attack and the gaps in their IT asset management, Zilker fell out of compliance, which further damaged their standing. And if that wasn't enough, their credit rating took a major blow. Organizations like S&P Global Ratings assesses company not just on financial health but also operational resilience, including how they manage IT assets. Zilker's poor practices resulted in a sharp downgrade, further hurting their reputation and long-term growth prospects. In short, one weakness in IT asset management cascaded into massive financial, regulatory, and reputational damage. The key takeaway from Zilker's story is clear. Organizations must align their IT asset management practices with their governance, risk, and compliance objectives. This shift moves an organization from a reactive approach to a truly proactive one, closing gaps before they become security threats. Now let's look at the specific gaps Zilka had and the best practices that could have prevented this situation. First, Zilka had ghost assets, devices that were listed in the inventory but hadn't been actively tracked or managed for a long time. The best practice would be to identify, track, and manage every single asset end to end throughout its journey. Second, they were running unlicensed and vulnerable software. There were no controls to prohibit unauthorized installations. The best practice would be to discover and track all software, define managed license, and block any software that's not approved for the environment. This step alone can prevent many ransomware entry points. Finally, the configuration data was outdated, making it impossible to quickly assess risk and when the attack happened. The best practice: map your IT infrastructure in a real-time configuration management database so you can accurately understand dependencies, identify vulnerabilities, and respond effectively. By following these practices, organizations can significantly reduce the risk of facing a crisis like Zilker's. So, what's the path to true visibility in IT asset management? To get deep, accurate visibility to your entire IT estate, the first step is to discover every single asset, whether it's on premises or remote. From there, we need to build a single source of truth for all IT assets and classify them into one consolidated inventory. That inventory should always be up to date, giving you real time data. It's not just about listing assets, it's about tracking ownership. Every asset should be assigned to a user, and we should know how it's being used, its technical details, and its current status. Regular audits are essential. They help confirm whether asset ownership matches the records, whether the asset is in the right condition, and whether any changes needs to be addressed. Another critical piece is creating a full asset life cycle, from the moment a device is procured throughout its active use and all the way to its disposal. And let's not forget the financial side. Keeping track of purchase orders, contracts, and related costs all within your IT asset management system gives you a complete control over both operational and financial aspects for your assets. This holistic approach is what turns raw asset data into actionable visibility. Let's now transition from why this happened to how we can actually manage IT asset management in an organization using the ServiceDesk Plus application. The first step is to customize the asset field. Since you purchase the asset module in the application, we first need to set up the asset attributes required for asset management. Let me quickly take you into the application, and under the admin section, Under customization, we have asset management option. This is where you will be configuring all your asset attributes, including your hardware and your software assets. First, let me walk you through the hardware assets. First up, we have product type. This is where we define the product types for our asset, things like workstations, switches, routers, and so on. So let's say if I wanted to have a separate product type for my Canon printer, I'll give my display name as Canon printer and the plural name for it, the category that it comes under, whether it's going to be an asset or an consumable, and whether if it's going to be a component, I can configure it in the asset type, and in the asset category is where I'll be defining if this product type is going to be an IT or a non-IT asset. And the product for the parent product type would be printer. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a sub product type named Canon printer under the existing parent product type printer. So all the Canon printers, if added, will be available under this printer product type. And next we have products. These are the actual models under each product type. Let's say Canon printers have a wide range of models that they provide. Everything can be configured here. I can click on new, give the product type that it has to be created under, the name, the manufacturer, the cost details, and etc. Looking at my existing inventory, you can see items like iPads, Latitude Workstation, and a set of servers which has been added previously. Next up, we have vendors. Every organization typically have certain vendors they procure assets from. Vendors can be manually added into the application. Here in the vendor details, you can give the vendor name, the currency they support, the address and contact information. Vendors can also be imported via XLS or CSV files. So if your vendor list is already maintained elsewhere, you can bring it into ServiceDesk Plus easily and manage them all in one place. And finally, for the hardware asset attributes, we have the asset states. This covers the entire life cycle of an asset. Remember Zylker's first misstep, a ghosted asset that led to a serious impact, truly because the asset state wasn't marked and maintained properly. From the installation to being in inventory to active usage and eventually disposal, having this lifecycle mapped ensure that every asset is properly managed from procurement to retirement. When you purchase a license for IT asset management, it comes with a certain number of assets you're allowed to manage. Now, not all asset states consume a license. For example, assets marked with expired or disposed do not count against your license limit. However, any other custom states you create will consume a license. By default, we have states like in store, in use, and in repair. You can mark assets with these states according to your current stage in the life cycle, so you always have real-time tracking of your asset status. So that wraps up the hardware configuration, hardware attributes of the asset. Next, we move on to the software, starting with the software types. This is where we classify the softwares available in in the organization, whether the enterprise software, freeware, or prohibited. Although prohibited is very important to mark because once the asset is marked as prohibited, the installation count of the prohibited softwares can be viewed and you can take action accordingly. And then we can also add a new software type and enable software compliance by grouping software under specific types. You ensure compliance across your environment. We also have software categories. For example, I've created a utilities categories where my Office 365 applications would naturally fit. And also I can create new categories for my operating system. So every software that I have in my organization is categorized perfectly. Next, we have software license types. These determine are filtered based on the manufacturer details from the scan assets. You can add license type with pre-built option by giving the manufacturer of the license, whether it has to track by the number of workstations or the users allowed, and if it's going to be a single volumetric or unlimited or an OEM license. Is perpetual means that once license is purchased, you can use it forever, and is free license determine if it's going to be a free or paid license. Finally, and next we have import license from CSV. I have a sample CSV file to show you. Upon importing the CSV file, you can bulk import all your licenses in the application Here you can define the managed software, the manufacturer of your license, the license type, the vendor details, the installation and users allowed, everything the license details would require. Next, we have software metering feature. This is available customers with an endpoint central license. So here in the application, you can determine how a software is categorized to be rarely used, occasionally used, or frequently used. Let's say I wanted to track Photoshop. So I'll choose Photoshop from the list of softwares I have, and here I'll be able to choose how many hours or times the software has to be accessed for it to be rarely used, occasionally, or frequently used. From there, you can run reports to see which software is underutilized and cut back on unnecessary licenses. So that covers an overview of the asset attributes in the application, everything you need to know to get started with the asset management in ServiceDesk Plus. Now let's move on to the next part, actually bringing these assets into our organization's application. Going back to Zylker's problem, they had no clear view on what assets were active in the environment, which opened the gate for attackers to exploit an unmonitored asset. Let's see how Zylker identified and tracked their assets. We have several asset discovery methods for this. These help us minimize manual work and bring in assets efficiently, whether through agent-based or agentless scanning. That includes things like domain scan, network scan, and even script-based scans. We also onboard assets through barcodes and QR codes. The QR codes are usually provided by a manufacturer. All you need to do is scan them through the ServiceDesk Plus mobile app, and those assets come directly into the system. This works great for bulk onboarding. Just line them up and scan the assets. Another method is importing via CSV or XLS file. If your inventory is already maintained in an Excel sheet, you can simply import that file. So now let me show you where exactly these happen in the application. In the admin page, you'll be able to see the discovery option. First up, we have agent configuration. Here's how it works. We have a unified agent that gets installed on all workstation and endpoints. The agent runs silently in the background, tracking the device details, the softwares used, and the user login details. These agents report back to endpoints on the server, and through integration, we bring those assets into Service Displays. So once a endpoint central is integrated, we can download the agent from the agent configuration page, set the server IP details for the endpoint central server, and we even have a fine-grained agent security settings. Now let's see one in action. I have an asset that was imported from the via the endpoint central agent. So here is the asset details view. As you can see from the the scan details, the scan mode is from UAM agent, and all the asset details are imported from the agent. In the hardware, I'll be able to see all the hardware details like the network adapters used, the processors, hard disk, the keyboards connectors, and even the monitors. In the software, all the software that I use in this particular machine will be listed, as well as the service packs will be listed as well. In the relationship view, you'll be able to add assets, add associations of the assets connected to or attached to, and also the user assigned to this. In the contract section, if you have any contracts, add in the contract module. Let's say if you have a warranty contract running with the vendor, if this particular asset is associated in that contract, the contract details will be shown here. In the financial tab, you'll be able to see your cost details for this asset, the purchase cost, the running cost, and in the depreciation details, you'll be able to see the depreciation for this asset in an annually and monthly view. Associations will show all the associated requests, problems, changes, and even releases. As you can see here, I have a request raised by a requester administrator mentioned that this device does not work. So that associated request will be automatically shown here. Now, back to other discovery methods. I go back to the admin page, and here we have Windows domain scan. If your endpoints are part of your domain, you can add your domain here, save, and run a scan. This pulls in all devices in bulk without having to scan each one manually. You can also push agents through GPO or endpoint service, then scan them in one go. Next up, we have network scan. Here you can define a network range, either a subnet or specific IP range, and scan devices like Solaris systems, SNMP routers, or switches. For SNMP devices, you'll use the credential libraries to store your credential. I've added a credential for my printer. The credential protocol is SNMP v3, so I'll configure all the details that is required and have it stored here. So when a scan is initiated, the application will find the credential from the credential library and scan the asset details. We also have schedule scan feature. This lets you scan daily, weekly, or monthly. For example, if most devices are online at 11 a.m., I can schedule the scan then to make sure I'm always getting up to date and real-time asset data. And also like to show a few scan settings. The invalid service tag, if OEM ships asset with duplicate asset service tags, normally the records would overwrite. By marking those tags as invalid here, each device is treated separately, even if they share the same tag. Another useful setting is add unknown assets. When enabled, any new endpoints with the agent install will be automatically added into the inventory. And finally, we have exclude IP or device option. This is sensitive for sensitive assets you don't want scanned or inventory. You can add them by IP or asset name and they'll be skipped during the scans. Now, before we wrap up the discovery method, let's quickly talk about manual asset entry and file imports. If you are having just a few assets, you can go over to the asset module and here to the asset form, you can fill all your asset details and add the asset in the go. For larger imports, we use the import asset option here. You can upload an XLS or CSV file containing all your asset details. This is especially handy if your asset data already exists in a spreadsheet. You can bulk import them into the system and later install agent or run scans to keep them updated automatically. So in short, Service Desk Plus makes it easier to keep your asset inventory accurate and up to date. With flexible discovery and scan options, you can be confident that every device is tracked properly, giving you a full visibility for better management. Now that we've seen how assets can be discovered and brought into Service Desk Plus, the next step is putting that data to use. Discovery alone isn't enough. What really matters is how we build a complete inventory of everything we manage. And that's not just IT assets like laptops, servers, or softwares, but also non-IT assets and even loaned equipments. To explain this better, let's look at how Zylker created a comprehensive inventory to track and manage both hardware and software assets along with loaned assets. Now, when an asset is added into the application, you'll be able to see those assets in the asset module. As you can see here, my asset list view is very much organized. I can see the list of assets and the components separately, and that list is separated with the IT and non-IT asset. Now, when an asset is added, the application looks at the product type linked to its model. Using this, it automatically classifies the asset, whether it's IT, non-IT, a component, or even a consumable. The best part here is how organized the list becomes. You don't end up with a mixed bag of devices and items all in one place. Instead, everything is neatly sorted into its respective category. This gives you a clear, structured asset repository that's easy to track, easy to search, and even easier to manage at scale. Also, it's convenient to manage assets by type and state and also helps when it comes to tracking usage or assigning them. Now, beyond just classifying them, we can keep track of assets, which assets are allocated, which are available, and which are retired using the option we have here. This gives a complete life cycle for each item. Now, let's talk about software management. Whenever an agent performs a scan, all detected softwares in the environment gets automatically populated in the scan software section. This is based on a scheduled scan, so this list stays up to date. If you want to track something that isn't detected automatically, you can also manually add a new software entry from this screen. And we even have software summary report which presents all this information in an interactive dashboard so you can quickly see compliance levels and license usage trends. Now, speaking of licenses, we also have the license agreement feature. Let's say you purchase a software license from a vendor, you probably have a contract document. You can upload that into the system, link it to the manufacturer, and record details like your purchase order information, the invoice details, the active period of this agreement, the agreement number, and also you can configure the agreement expiry notification so you'll be notified before the agreement expires. Once licenses are in the system, we can also track software licenses at a granular level. You can create license or add them manually or bulk import them, just like we did earlier for assets. When creating a license, you can specify the managed software, the license type, the option, the vendor details, and also the acquisition date of the license. And here's a nice bonus. We have Microsoft 365 integration. So you can pull all your 365 licenses directly into ServiceDesk Plus and manage them from one place. And another important capability here is asset replenishment. Think of it like restocking your IT storeroom. The IT department often needs spare assets, maybe for replacing faulty equipment or onboarding new employees. We can set threshold levels for each type of asset so the system alerts us when the stock runs low. For example, I have a replenishment for my Canon printers. So the product name is Canon printer, and currently my inventory has 5 inventory count. So whenever the count drops below 4, I will be notified that this asset has to be restocked again. This ensured we always have enough inventory on hand to meet business needs without over purchasing. All right, let's move on to asset booking feature. Here's where your end users can directly book an asset that's available for loan. We also have loan asset option and in that we have loan registry for where you can see all the loan assets that is currently loaned by the users. Now, not every assets can be loaned. So we have loanable assets option where you can mark specific assets that are loanable and those assets will appear for users to book. So let me quickly show you how this looks for the from the requester's perspective. So this is the requester self-service portal. From here, I have an option to book assets. So when I book asset, I see a workstation is available for booking. I can simply choose the workstation, select the purpose, and then simply book it. And this booking can be shown in the bookings page from the administrator's perspective. Now, I also would like to highlight our barcode feature here. We have three separate options for barcodes that can be added, that can be scanned using the vendor's barcode. So you can just simply use the ServiceDesk Plus mobile app and scan those barcodes and add the assets. The second option is where you generate barcodes from the application and automatically add assets from that barcode. Let me show you the configuration here. I can choose the product type that I'm adding, the site of the product's association, and here I can choose the prefix, my suffix, and the starting from and the end count. So I have all the barcodes in series, and once I click on generate barcode, the barcodes will be generated along with it. All the assets will be auto added. Let's say I have assets in the application that does not have any barcode. That's why I'll use the third option. I can simply click on it and give a barcode series for my existing assets so it will be updated automatically. And next we have the group assets feature. This lets you categorize assets based on certain conditions. For example, I can create a new group here. I have two options while I choose the group. If it's going to be a static group or a dynamic group, I'll choose a service one. So static groups enable you to manually choose the assets and add them into that group. Whereas dynamic, you'll be having a criteria that you set. So any asset that matches that particular criteria will be auto added into that group. And then there's summary dashboard, a real-time view of the asset data. Here you'll see the scan summary on how many assets were scanned successfully versus failed ones, along with the reasons for failures. And the asset status gives breakdown of your assets by status like in use or disposed. We also have auto assign functionality. This works by using the last logged in details user data that is pushed from the endpoint center integration to automatically assign ownership. So once the logged in user will be listed here, and I can simply choose and assign the owners automatically. So that's the rundown of how Service Desk Plus streamlines IT and non-IT softwares and asset management, keeping your entire asset ecosystem organized, compliant, and easy to manage. Now, when it comes to auditing, it's all about being prepared and having the right data in hand. During an audit, we need to know the complete history and details of every assets that's inventoried in the application, because the more accurate our records, the smoother and faster the audit process will be. That's exactly where the reports module comes in. In the application, you'll find the reports module where we have a predefined set of predefined reports. Let's say I have a report here that groups all the assets in my organization with the product type. I can see the asset details here, and also I get a graphical view that is grouped by the product type. You can also add this to the dashboard, export them as the options formats available here, and also mail this or schedule this to be mailed or saved in location for your higher authorities to be viewed. So let's talk about dashboard themselves. We got a dedicated asset dashboard that gives administrators and technicians a real-time summary of assets. You can view them by computers by domain, the manufacturer, the site, and all the details that can be viewed can be automated, and the real-time data will be shown in the dashboard. Now, if the pre-built reports don't give you exactly what you need, we have the custom reporting tool here. If I click on new report, and in the custom report, I have an option to choose all assets. In the report wizard, I'll be able to choose all the details I need, the filters I need to that needs to be added for this report, the columns that has to be grouped, and also the charts that can be viewed visually. And this list isn't limited to just asset inventories. You can also create software reports, loaned asset reports, summary type reports with advanced filters. The flexibility here is that you can drill down into very fine-grained details, perfect for catching inconsistencies or tracking specific subsets of your IT asset inventory. And if you ever need help building these advanced reports, our team is always ready to assist in tailoring them exactly to your requirements. And next, let's visit the configuration management database, a powerful ITSM module that enables you to build visual maps of your infrastructure and how assets, services, and users interrelate. With CMDB, you gain a bird's eye view of your IT landscape and can analyze business impact before implementing changes or navigating incidents. This allows you to perform impact analysis proactively, make more informed decisions, and avoid cascading failures. And first, we'll configure the CMDB attributes. Let me quickly browse to the application, and in the admin customization section, I have the CMDB option. Here you'll see the list of CI types where all the configuration items being managed are listed. For example, you might already have servers, applications, or routers defined as CI types. But if your organization has something unique, let's say a custom built application or a proprietary device, you can easily create a new CI type for it. Here, you will be able to choose the parent CI type, the display name, and even icon for better visualization. Now, each CI type can have its own asset details that are important to track. That's where the custom field comes in. You can add attributes that matter specifically to your business. So whenever someone looks at the CI, you're not just seeing generic data, but the critical details your team actually needs. Let's move on to the CI status. This is how you indicate the condition or importance of a CI at any point in time. For example, you can mark an item as on maintenance, trouble, or even set it as critical if it plays a vital role in business operations. These statuses give immediate context, so anyone looking at the CI knows how important it is and what stage of its life cycle it's in. Next, we have sync rules. With sync rules, you can map exactly which product type should be created at as CI types in the CMDB. Let me quickly show you a sync rule. So first up, I have the source module, which is the asset. So what I'll be doing is, if any asset gets added into the system in the assets module, it will be auto added directly in the CMDB as a new CI type. So the first product type would be a server, and next the destination CI type would also be a server in my case. And here, if I save this, all the servers that's in the asset module will be auto-added into the CMDB as a CI. I can also map asset fields. Let's say I wanted to map the product field automatically from the asset field, that can be done here. And also I can add filters. So only assets having a match with this filter will be added as CIs. Let's move on to relationship mapping and business views in the CMDB module. If I click on a particular CI, I can immediately view its relationship map. So I have a computer, HIV server, and in the relationship section, I can see the server it depends on, the used by it is used by the administrator and the author and the hosted application. Now this map visually lays all the associations and dependencies of the CI. Now what makes this even more powerful is that the relationship can be saved as business view. So instead of looking at just one CI in isolation, you can see the entire ecosystem it belongs to. So in the CMDB module, I have a separate business view option where the complete visualization of the the server's dependencies are listed. This relationship mapping is key. It doesn't just show you what's connected to what, it also helps you predict the impact of an outage before it happens. That means you can be proactive instead of reactive, identifying potential risks and planning changes with a clear understanding of the ripple effects across your business. And also in the latest CMDB update brings even more automations into the relationship. Op Manager integration allows you to automatically sync devices and the layer 2 relationship into CMDB. This helps you visualize network topology and strengthens root cause and impact analysis. Application management integration automatically incorporates application dependencies as relationships in the CMDB, giving you visibility into how apps rely on each other. And let's see how CMDB helps you identify risks. In essence, CMDB enables you to visualize critical dependencies so you can spot single points of failure, assesses risk before changes by understanding how CIs affect services, speed up incident response using map relationship into identifying the root cause, streamline planning by knowing exactly how a disruption will ripple through the operation. That way, you can prepare and act before issues cause. Now let's have a quick recap on what we covered in our session. First up, we started with to start using the asset module, from asset attributes and product types to asset types, scanning assets through discovery methods and using XML inputs, managing both hardware and software licenses, tracking assets through the various states like in use, in store, and in disposed, creating and using real-time reports, both pre-built and custom, for auditing and utilization tracking. And finally, how the CMDB module lets you map relationship, perform impact analysis, and proactively avoid downtime. By combining the asset module with the CMDB options, you get a complete IT asset management system that keeps you compliant, audit ready, and fully in control of your IT infrastructure. I also have to point you towards some helpful resources. First up, we have our support portal, a great starting point for exploring the capabilities available in the ServiceDesk Plus application. The admin guide, which gives you detailed instruction for configuring specific features. The release notes, where we publish updates and enhancements for each module. And also we have our ManageEngine YouTube channel. Recorded videos and walkthroughs can be watched from there anytime. The community forum, a space to connect with other users, share details, and get tips. And of course, you can also reach out to our support team directly. at hello@servicedeskplus.com or ask your guest questions and drop an email to my personal inbox alvin.s@zercorp.com. That's all for today's session, and thank you again for your time and attention today. I hope the session has given you the clarity and confidence to start your IT asset management effectively and application. Thanks everyone for joining.